Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It is FBC Radio Live. It's Friday, St. Patty's Day, March 17th, 2023. And John and I are drunk. No. Not drinking. I know John hasn't drank in a very long time. No, we're kind of drunk on this Aaron Rodgers drama. I love it. I know John loves it. And the longer this goes on, the more we get to talk about it. And I'm okay with that.
Me too.
Yeah. That was your cue, John, to chime in.
Well, sometimes maybe I am drunk. Who knows?
That
could be the case. I mean, 30 years down the drain, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
decided on March 17th, 2023 to just be drunk. No, I'm all in favor of this because for what we do, the guy is gold. I know everyone comes on their particular show and says, he's insufferable. Yeah, he's insufferable, but it's fascinating, right? Like, interesting people can be insufferable. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, keep it up, Aaron. Keep it up, Green Bay. Keep it up, Jets. I don't know how long this thing is going to last before it's done, but it could go a little bit of a while.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the Packers dragging their feet. We talked about it yesterday, and I said it yesterday. They have no leverage here. I mean, this is their last grasp at a star, unless they are willing, if they're this petty and bitter, to just either carry Aaron Rodgers on the bench and pay his money in order to not give him what he wants, or force him to retire. If that's a far, I don't think they're willing to do that, John. I can't believe that the relationship between the two of them, Rodgers and the Packers contingent there, I don't think it's deteriorated to the point of like that sort of like Hollywood type drama like that. I mean, trust me, I'd be all for it because it'd be fun to dissect, but I don't think it's gotten to that point. So really the Packers' only option is, well, we can drag this out a little bit longer, but eventually, assuming the Jets don't cave, they're going to get a appropriate deal for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think 2 first-round picks. And again, all credit and admiration to what Aaron Rodgers has done in the past. 2 first-round picks on Aaron Rodgers right now is not worth it. So I don't think they're getting that if that's what they really want. I hardly think that a first-round pick is going to end up being involved here. I think it's going to end up being a second round, maybe a third or a later round pick or an additional pick later next season. But eventually this is going to happen because, well, again, the Packers really don't have a choice.
The only thing I'll say, and it could be a turd in the punch bowl, is that they don't have to activate his $60 million contract till September 1st. So he's not going to be on the books at a certain point. So they could string this thing out as long as they want to and then make the deal on September 1st, which means he shows up and has a game in 2 weeks. And if there's any guy that can kind of step in and have 2 weeks of prep time and get ready, he is one of those guys. He's been around forever. It's not the optimal thing to do. You want to kind of get him in. And
well, when you have your entire offensive staff from Green Bay pretty much in New York waiting for you, it might be a little bit easier. So.
Yeah, and your tight end, Mercedes Lewis, and your best friends in the world, and Randall Cobb, and Alan Lazard already signed. So, yeah, maybe he just steps in. He'll come in a helicopter for the first practice the first week of September. But I also think, though, if the Packers want draft capital back for Aaron Rodgers, you're better off doing it in this draft because
that's a great point.
Jets are picking 13th, right? So if you wait till next year, I would assume the Jets will be better than middle of the pack. Like, so they're first round pick next year would be in the 20s somewhere, hopefully 32, meaning he won the Super Bowl. So you want to get that draft pick in a month and start adding pieces to your own team in Green Bay because, I think there's going to be some question marks there as well. So I think it gets done before the draft for that reason. But the only problem is I think one of the things could be a conditional draft pick, a second round conditional pick, depending on how he plays. It could move up to a first round pick. Well, then that has to be in 2024. It can't happen this year. So there's a lot that has to be worked out, and maybe they're haggling over who's paying him the money. The Packers going to be responsible for part of it. The Jets going to take up 2/3 of that. Like those are things that have to be worked out. I would have assumed they worked that out earlier because we kind of thought that. But again, Rodgers said he was 90% sure he was going to retire. Then he went to the darkness retreat and found out Green Bay wanted to move him. Despite them, he decided to come back. Which is that the best reason to come back? It could be because they'll probably play really well this year. So. Yeah, this is getting a little bit complicated, but I think it has to be resolved by the draft, especially if the Packers want something in return.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, bringing up the draft. I mean, that's kind of, again, another kind of sticking point that really gives the Packers no leverage here, because anything past the draft, to your point, you're kind of screwing yourself, and your returns are diminishing by the day. Because yeah, you got to figure with Aaron Rodgers, they're not going to be picking 13th or better. It's likely going to
Mhm.
be mid 20s, and that's kind of no man's land too when it comes to first round draft picks. Like, trust me, it's not a great place to be in unless you're already an established franchise. If you're a team looking to um, build, it doesn't give you much draft capital power. It doesn't mean you can't get a great player at that point, but you know what I mean. Like, when you're picking 25th, 26th, it's like, might as well be a second round pick, right? Um,
Mhm.
so, really, the Packers, again, if they want to get anything, if they really want to get anything even close to what they want, they have to trade him before this draft, because anything else, it's just going to be, one, longer for you to get that return, and two, likely it's not going to be as good of a return. Yeah. So again, eventually this is going to get done. I think maybe the Packers didn't like Aaron Rodgers' vocalizing everything that he was thinking in terms of wanting to go play for the Jets and all that. So yeah, human nature is involved, and you always bring it up. This is a Packers team that doesn't have a quote unquote owner. It's a group of businessmen and women who run this organization, and very likely treat it as such. And this is not something that um, can be solved by the 75-year-old owner who shakes the hands of all the players after all the you know what I mean. It's just there's not
Mhm.
that. And again, I'm not trying to speak like I have intimate knowledge of how that whole organization works, but it just seems like there's not that figure that could potentially buffer some of these issues right now. So yeah, it's a standoff, but I mean, the Packers are the only ones that can lose in this situation. Um, they have to trade him, and the Jets know it. Aaron Rodgers knows it. Everyone knows it. Yeah. So
Are you reading into the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo was touring the Raiders facilities the other day? He was supposed to have a press conference, but it was canceled. I don't know if they're still working out the contract, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, or the Raiders all of a sudden calling up the Packers and saying, wait a second, we're interested in Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know if that's also in play. When these things happen, your mind starts working that there's other levels going on.
yeah,
So I wouldn't think so, because I would think they would have jumped in earlier, but the Raiders aren't exactly the best run organization either. So, the Packers are dealing with the Jets, maybe the Raiders, and who else. But there's not a huge market for Rodgers, because, again, who's going to assume that contract? Who's going to give the draft capital to Green Bay? Who's going to want to capitulate to dealing with him? I mean, this isn't your average quarterback. This is a guy who's going to be 40 in December, who is, shall we say, eccentric,
yeah,
weird,
oh yeah,
whatever.
oh sure,
Which is, again, usually when you make 60 million a year and you're worth 400 million, you get called eccentric. If you're just a guy making $22 an hour, you're weird.
yeah,
He's eccentric. So there's a big difference there, right? But yeah, I think it's going to get done. It has to get done. Maybe the Packers are just being spiteful, but you nailed it, Ian, when you said that. They don't have an owner. Look, if this was the Dallas Cowboys involved, we know Jerry Jones would get this thing done either way, whether he was getting Aaron Rodgers or trading Aaron Rodgers. The Packers don't have that person who is the biggest thing in the organization. And that kind of speaks to how the Packers the last 30 years have been run. Who've been the two biggest personalities for the Packers the last 30 years? It's not even close. It's
yeah,
Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's it. Like, I don't even know who's third. Maybe Mike Holmgren for a period of
yeah,
time. Like,
maybe.
they just don't. Right. So they don't have, look, how many times do we hear for 20 years there's a three-headed monster that has run the Patriots, right? Kraft, Belichick, Brady.
Hmm.
So, and still, one guy signs the check. In the end, he's the boss, right? So the Packers don't have that.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it could lead to complications. Again, situations where emotion sometimes is good and sometimes it's bad. I'm not saying you always bring emotion to the table when it comes to these things, but sometimes a little bit of emotion and attachment could resolve issues like this. And that obviously is something that you're probably not getting um, in this situation. So and to your point, I mean, I don't know. I'm all for twists and turns and M. Night Shyamalan type changes in the narrative. And hey, if the Raiders say, you know what, we assumed the whole time that he was just going to go to the Jets, but now things seem a little bit shaky. Maybe they can swoop in. However, I'm not quite sure what they have for draft capital, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? So if it's pure petty, maybe the Jets, or I'm sorry, maybe the Packers will trade him elsewhere for like a little bit better package. Maybe not 2 first-round picks, but maybe the Raiders muster up a first-round pick. And Josh McDaniels is like, hey, I'm in desperate need of a very good season, and I can reunite Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams with Jacoby Myers and Josh Jacobs and so on and so forth. And hey, they have a need for a tight end. Mercedes Lewis, come on down. We got a spot for you. So, yeah, I mean that would be kind of interesting. But I kind of want to think now though. Would there be and there would be very few teams, if any. But are there any other teams out there that could potentially throw their hat in the race, like kind of in a desperate? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, Tampa's got Baker Mayfield, right?
That ought to solve all their problems,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, entertaining to say the least. Oh well, look, the Colts are where veteran quarterbacks go to die. So I mean, hopefully, hopefully, Aaron Rodgers doesn't, for the sake of no. Look, that would be a nice option because again, you think playing in that division, a division that is starting to get kind of a stranglehold by Jacksonville. I mean, they should take again, if you're a Jacksonville fan, knock on wood, they should take the next step next season. Yeah, I mean, I guess Indianapolis could be an option. Tennessee, I mean, yeah, we already talked about it. Isn't he building a house or something there or something like that?
Building in a house in Nashville.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, the Colts part of it would be interesting because could you picture Aaron Rodgers and Jim Irsay meeting each other?
Yeah, that would be something
priceless. Oh man, they would either hate each other, but more likely love each other, right? Because they kind of speak the same language. I'm sure that Jim would go on to a darkness retreat with Aaron Rodgers without question. That would be the best quarterback owner pairing in NFL history by far. It would be priceless. But again, they have the 4th overall pick, and reports are they're going to draft a quarterback. So they just kind of want a placeholder.
Yeah.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to go to Indianapolis, and if they keep that 4th overall pick, they draft a quarterback. You really set him off.
What about San Francisco?
Oh, that's still the best spot, but Green Bay's been adamant that they're not going to trade him within the conference.
That's true. I keep forgetting about that.
I would love to see him there because you can't beat them in the postseason. So if you can't beat them, join them.
That's well. Again, maybe this is all about just pettiness, and maybe they'll go as far as to spite the Jets. Like when Frank and Estelle Costanza moved to Del Boca Vista to spite the Seinfelds. Maybe they send him to the 49ers. And you never know. Just saying. I
can't stop laughing when I think of that. Yeah. They moved there to fight Seinfeld.
They don't want us there. We're going.
Oh man! Wouldn't Aaron Rodgers be a great character on Seinfeld?
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe, for sure.
The show was still in existence, and based in New York, you could have Aaron Rodgers as a Seinfeld character. I know he's a huge fan of The Office.
Well, I was gonna say, could he be like the Keith Hernandez guest spot? Coming on and do like a little the boyfriend part 2 or the boyfriend part 2, part 1 and 2. Whatever. I'm confusing myself here a little bit, but hey, look, I want the guy to play just because again it's entertaining, and I think there's I like the past. I like the I like the history of the game, and again, I think we kind of figured he's like the last old guy standing right now because pretty much everything else after that is Matt Stafford and whatever, So I'm pretty sure I want him to stick around a little bit, assuming Tom Brady decides that he doesn't want to come back. There's still time, Tom. You can still come back. Just saying. Some teams out there would want you. San Francisco.
Yes.
Telling you.
Yes, we're in stereo on that one.
On the 3-year anniversary that he left the Patriots. Maybe today's the day that he comes back. No, I don't know. I'm done. I got to move on. I got to get past this. This is damaging to my
You
mental
need to
health.
go to a darkness retreat yourself, I
Yes,
think.
yes. I do. It's coming up soon. We'll see what happens. Uh, anyways, speaking of the Patriots, though, speaking of the Patriots, signed Mike Gesicki today. You have Juju Smith-Schuster. Bring in Robinson, the running back. I'd say it's a pretty good start to the offseason for the Patriots. I mean, this is a team that obviously is under heavy scrutiny every single day from the fans, from the media in Boston, from well, not so much the national media anymore because they haven't been winning. So they're the spotlight is off them a little bit. But they're still a national topic because of Bill Belichick, because they're the Patriots and that brand. But I like what they're doing so far. We talked about this a little bit, I think, last week or at one point. All these things that they're doing, everything that they've done, they brought in Juju. That's I think that's I don't know if it's an upgrade over Jacoby Myers, but I do know that he's a better run after the catch guy. Someone who can make some plays with the football in his hand, and that's something the Patriots have sorely lacked the last couple days or last couple years. You bring in Mike Gesicki to replace Jonnu Smith, who unfortunately just didn't work out. Whether it was the system, whether it was just several circumstances that led to it, it just didn't work. So you bring in Mike Gesicki. Seems like it's going to be a good fit. It all comes down to Mac Jones, John. All comes down to Mac Jones, and if he can embrace the opportunity with Bill O'Brien, I don't think the coaching staff was the entire issue last year. He had to play better, but it was certainly a factor. And I think given Bill O'Brien's success with working with young quarterbacks and getting success out of offenses, I think it's going to give him every opportunity to succeed. So ultimately, it's going to be down to him. Is he going to take the next step in year 3? This is not a young quarterback anymore. He's a guy that's starting to enter his football maturity in the NFL. You got to embrace it. And if he can't take the next step, then this Patriots team is going to be another 500 team. If he does, they can win some games, and they have some nice offensive pieces in place.
Yeah, I think, can you get Kendrick Bourne back on the field? I thought he had a really good first year with the Patriots in 2021. Obviously, last year he fell out of favor. He's one of Mac Jones' closest friends on the team. Maybe he steps it up a little bit. Tyquan Thornton was a second-round pick a year ago. Can you keep him healthy and give you a different look because he could potentially be a deep threat? Now you got Gesicki and Hunter Henry as your tight ends. I think that's a good combo there. Neither's really a great blocker, but the sport's changed. I mean, it's not years ago where the tight end was predominantly a blocker who also caught passes. Now it's the other way around. I mean, Travis Kelce's not blocking anybody, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame and is putting up numbers that may never be approached again. So, I like those moves. I think they need one more receiver because if you lose Jacoby Myers as they did, you replace him with Juju Smith-Schuster, a little bit different type of player, but, kind of a lateral move. Add one more receiver, hopefully a veteran free agent or through trade. Now I think you've added some nice pieces among the skill guys.
And they've been connected to Jerry Jeudy out in Denver. If you believe some reports. So to me, that's an indication that, yeah, they're probably thinking along the same lines. It doesn't mean that's the only person that they're after, but it gives you kind of an idea about where their mindset is and thinking, okay, we're not finished here. And look, we talked about this yesterday. This is a league that, in the past, having that marquee big play wide receiver wasn't necessarily a big deal because it was more quarterback dominant, and it's still quarterback dominant today, but obviously you need players that can make plays after the catch and after in the open field. It's not just about, Tom Brady throwing to Randy Moss going up and getting a big catch 40 yards down the field and that's that. No, it's attack the middle of the field that's much more wide open these days and take advantage of holes in the offense. And you need athletic, skill players to do so. And the Patriots have sorely lacked that. Now, again, doesn't mean Juju's one of the best ones, but he's better at creating after the catch than what the Patriots have had. And if you go out and add another skill wide out to this offense, all of a sudden, yeah, you can elevate the play of Mac Jones on top of hoping that he elevates his own play. And that'd be a pretty good combination, I'd say.
Oh yeah, without question. And again, as you said, it's up to Mac Jones embracing Bill O'Brien's offense and playing better than he did a year ago, which isn't going to take much. I think he had a horrible year last year. Part of it was the lack of proper coaching. I mean, here's a guy who played for a legendary coach in high school, a legendary coach in college, and he was surrounded by a bunch of first round picks at Alabama. First year with the Patriots, he got Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. So he's never been used to not being coached by elite coaches, and then all of a sudden it kind of changes in year two. So yeah, that's going to be so important. I also think they need to address the offensive line. I think we're in agreement that they've got to draft a tackle with that 14th overall pick. I wouldn't trade the 14th overall pick for Judy. I think Judy's been somewhat of a disappointment, but he's only played 3 years, and his first 2 years he was playing with a myriad of like below average quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And then last year Russell Wilson just never got going, and maybe never will get going. So you would think maybe he could produce better with better quarterback play, but I think they need to address the offensive line, specifically left tackle. If you do that, maybe you move Trent Brown over to the right side. And the interior line, I think, will be fine. Cole Strange in his second year should be better. Andrews is solid at center. Owen's a really good guard. And then again, with Adrian Clem coaching the offensive line, and experienced offensive line coach, that will be buttoned up, and that will just make all of those weapons better, right?
Yeah.
You give Mac Jones an extra half a second to throw the football, he should be a better quarterback. So I think that they have to address that in the first round. But, if they can button up that offense and the defense continues to progress, be better on special teams, because special teams cost them last year. Normally special teams help them win games. It cost them games last year. Now you're that much better. The only problem is, Ian, if Rodgers ends up with the Jets, Miami's made some nice moves in the offseason. Buffalo, I think, is going to take a little step back. That division is just really tough.
Yeah.
So they could be better next year and still be 8-9, 9-8, and maybe be on the outside looking in and run the playoff race.
Oh, sure. And here's the thing too. Can you really, and I was just thinking about that division too, because we've already kind of talked about the Bills, and look, they're seeing some players leave. We've kind of seen them hit I don't want to say hit a wall, but they certainly didn't, the last few years leading up to last season, they seem to have progressed every year, kind of taken one step forward. This year that didn't happen. And you kind of feel like maybe they peaked. I mean, who knows? Maybe they have. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've exhausted every ounce of talent that they've had, and things aren't going to get much better. You're right. Miami's better, assuming, again, Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. The Jets are better. And I do think that the Patriots are going to be better just by virtue of offensive coaching and perhaps some of the offensive moves that they've made and have yet to make. And there's still a very long time between now and the start of the season. And you have a thing called the NFL draft coming up where that's going to be pretty key. And we all know that they are usually fairly active in the post NFL draft free agency wave, where some of those veteran guys get, cut, and like, you get opportunities that obviously you're not really thinking of right now. So plus they look like they might be interested in adding Taylor Rapp, safety from the Rams, which would be a nice little piece. Obviously, you're going to be looking to replace Devin McCourty. You're not going to replace Devin McCourty, but you need to get bodies in there and good football players to try and pick up some of the slack left with his retirement. So again, I like what the Patriots are doing right now in terms of how they're approaching the offseason, assuming, again, that they're, like you said, they're probably going to attack the offensive and possibly defensive line. You can always count on the Patriots to go O-line, D-line in the first round when there's either no obvious need or a lot of different needs. You can't go wrong going to the line.
Half of your roster is made up of offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and we know that you need depth there because there's constant injuries. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is no disrespect to Jalen Hurts, who I love and is an outstanding quarterback, continue to grow. The Philadelphia Eagles got to the Super Bowl a big part because of Jalen Hurts, but even a bigger part is their offensive and defensive lines were downright dominant, and that's why they got to the Super Bowl. And we see Kansas City winning the Super Bowl this year because they improved their offensive line, improved their defensive line. I know it's not really sexy or exciting, but those parts of the game are still important.
No, and you know what? We're kind of talking about like the evolution from what positions were valued in different eras, but the common denominator was it's always been offensive and defensive line in the mix as well. We talk about, well, it's been running back heavy, now it's quarterback heavy, or now it's wide receiver heavy, and then there's always like, well, also the lines. You need
Mhm.
to solidify the lines, from the inside out and from the outside. Going backwards. Go from the defensive line to the linebacker, so on and so forth. Um, so yeah, I mean, look, it's a solid start to the offseason, and I think a very prudent approach because again, you don't want to get overboard and believe you're something that you're not, and also you don't want to sit back too long and let all the good players go because this team does need an infusion of talent. This is not a team that can be, whose problems can be masked by Tom Brady anymore. You have to make sure you address those issues and realize, yeah, you have a young quarterback that has potential, but you need to put him in the best situation to succeed because he's not Brady. Two, he's still learning and growing as a quarterback. So you just got to give him the best opportunity to succeed. And if that happens, well, guess what? You win some football games. So
Yeah, without question. I mean, division is much stronger now than ever been, and then you don't have Tom Brady there to mask whatever shortcomings you have.
yeah, and
Um,
look,
that's obviously a major thing.
you look, and that's fine. I mean, I don't think you're look, winning the division is not out of the question. I mean, obviously, if I were to pick the Patriots to win the division this year, it would be kind of outrageous, but it's really not unrealistic because I don't think the gap right now between these teams is astronomical. I think going into last season, I think we had Buffalo on a much, much higher pedestal than what they are now. I think they've definitely taken a hit this year. Um, in terms of coming into the season and expectations. I don't know if they're going to be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe other people are thinking differently, but I look at Buffalo. I'm like, man, it was just disappointing how it ended for them last year. They had a lot of good moments, but it always felt like they reverted back to what they were, and that was mistake prone and underperforming or playing down to the competition. And maybe we excuse that as, oh, maybe they were bored. I know I said that at one point, but maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I just look back at that playoff game against Miami, right?
Yeah.
With Skylar Thompson quarterbacking Miami, and it was a 3-point game, life and death with the Miami Dolphins on a cold day in Buffalo. That kind of shocked me. And then the next week, Cincinnati just went in there and toyed with them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they just manhandled them on both sides of the line of scrimmage. So I look, I picked Buffalo to win the Super Bowl this year. I may pick them third in their own division this year, especially if Rodgers goes to the Jets. I can see the Jets winning 11, 12 games. I could see Miami winning 10, 11 games. I could see Buffalo right around there, and I could see the Patriots winning 8 or 9. I mean, it could be really jumbled in the AFC East, and teams are playing each other and beating up each other, and it could be that type of closeness in the AFC East this year.
Yeah, hey, I'm all for it. It'll make for a much more competitive season, obviously for the Patriots and Dolphins and Jets and Bills. It should be fun. So, either way, I hope, John. I know. I mean, part of me wants this drama with Rogers to drag on and on and on and on, but I kind of hope that things are resolved soon because I do want to start visualizing, what we could see and actually really hammer home what's going to happen in this division. So, but until then, hopefully that happens over the weekend and then we have something to talk about on Monday. So until then, though, folks, give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live. And of course, go over to Whoa, excuse me. Pardon me. I was getting a little, getting a little choked up talking about Tom Brady earlier. It finally hit me. Yeah, I know it happens. I have a crying pillow if anyone wants to know. So, it's very sad. It has like a Super Bowl trophy on it, and whatever. Anyways, that was a little too personal.
7 of them.
Yeah, I got 7 of them.
You have 7 Super Bowl pillows, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I was like, it's like that. My couch is too crowded. It's like, my grandmother's couch when I was a kid. It's like there's 18 pillows on this couch. Where do you sit? Where do you sit? I don't want to
exactly. I know.
It's like a chore to sit down because you have to take the pillows down and then put them back up at the end. It's like, no, I just want to sit and that's all I want to do. I don't know. All right. Anyways,
I only have one pillow, so I wake up with a stiff neck.
Oh, there you go. That's not good. That's not comfortable. So, but anyways, thank you everyone. Give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live. And of course, head over to fullpresscoverage.com and check out all the latest and greatest. So thank you everyone. And we will talk to you on Monday.